The AP Top 25 college football poll is officially out. No changes for the top 3 teams in the sport, but a whole lot of movement behind. Miami and Georgia moving up spots after impressive wins. Oregon, they did win, but not nearly as impressive as those 2 teams before it, so they drop 2 points. Florida State continuing to move on up. But how about Texas A&M entering the top 10 after a massive win in South Bend? Meanwhile, a lot of teams moving up in the rankings between 11 and 20. And welcome to the party, Vanderbilt Commodores. From unranked to ranked, also Georgia Tech after a big win over Clemson enters the poll. Tennessee, no change after an overtime loss to Georgia. Alabama moving up 5 spots, looking very impressive against Wisconsin. Deeper into the poll we go. Who barely made it? USC on our air on CBS with a win over Purdue. Goes from unranked to number 25. Notre Dame, though, the steepest drop, 16. Down to number 24. Still ranked, though, despite not winning a game yet this season. Meanwhile, Michigan, Auburn, Missouri rounding out that final 5 in the AP poll after week 3. Welcome here into CBS Sports HQ. We have Damien Harris in studio. Brad Crawford joins us remotely to walk through some of these teams. And I got to start with Notre Dame. I am surprised that they are still ranked. I am not the one that is answering the questions, though. I'm the one asking it. So, Brad, I'll start with you. What is your reaction to the Irish still being in this poll, but way far down now at number 24?
I am stunned the Irish are still ranked after 3 weeks and 2 games of lackluster play. Fourth quarter losses for the Irish to Miami and Texas A&M. Last night was at home. I'm just stunned by this. What has Notre Dame shown on the field so far to warrant top 25 billing? They haven't won a game. However, I wrote this morning that Notre Dame's playoff hopes were likely over after this loss. Now seeing the Irish still in the poll at number 24, that shows me AP poll voters still respect Marcus Freeman in this team. Perhaps winning out could still get them in the picture. So I think it's also vital, Emily, that USC moves into the rankings at 25 because USC is one of those upcoming games on Notre Dame's schedule. You look there, back-to-back losses to ranked teams, and the Trojans of Southern Cal are the only remaining opponent that's ranked for Notre Dame. So it'll be very interesting to see from here if Notre Dame can win out and get back to the playoff like they were last fall.
Yeah, I'm with Brad. This is a total shock to me, and it's even more shocking that they're ranked above USC, who is 3-0, while Notre Dame is sitting at 0-2. Here's the thing. I'm with Brad. After seeing Notre Dame still being ranked, there is a possibility that they can still make the college football playoffs. Do I think it's high? Not necessarily, but let's not forget what happened last year. I would equate, Emily Proud, Notre Dame starting 0-2 to losing to NIU last year. Now, last year they had a more advantageous schedule, so they had more resume boosters that they could have as far as wins. They don't have that luxury this year, but the fact that USC is now a ranked team that does help Notre Dame if they can win that game. But again, Notre Dame is in a very tough spot right now because if we strip away talking about the rankings and the college football playoff and this, that, and the third, the fact remains you're 0-2. You are not doing well enough on offense, on defense, on special teams. You're not coaching well enough. So Notre Dame is a little bit behind the 8 ball. I sat here and pounded the table last year and said they shouldn't get in last year. Well, they did, and they made it to the Natty. So I'm not going to say they shouldn't get in. I'm just saying their road is going to be a little bit tougher this year.
Yeah, crazier things have happened, and they did happen last year, so we can't rule them out yet. But Notre Dame does become the first team in the BCS and college football playoff era to start 0-2 the year after reaching a national championship game. Clearly being in that game is influencing their number 24 ranking this year, because we have not seen it in year 3 under Marcus Freeman. How about Texas A&M up to number 10? We got to talk about the winner of this game, because that was, I mean, we're all winners being able to watch that game because it was absolutely epic. What do the college football playoff sites look like for the Aggies, Brad?
Yeah, there's a good chance that A&M can finish 9-3 and still get to the playoff at one of those SEC at-large teams. No losses yet. Mike Elko now has a signature win. Y'all remember A&M lost to Notre Dame in College Station last season. that wound up hurting them in the playoff picture. Now they have a win over Notre Dame. So if you're an Aggies fan right now, not only do you want to see Marcel Reed continue to develop into one of the SEC's top quarterbacks, but you want Notre Dame to win out, because that win in South Bend for the Aggies is going to hold water late in the year. You see the schedule. All of a sudden, it looks pretty favorable. There's only 4 games against ranked teams remaining. That's Auburn, LSU, Missouri, and Texas. Now, I realize 3 of those come on the road, but Texas A&M now has a momentum-building win at Notre Dame that's going to come in handy later.
And that's what's important. They have momentum now. And we've talked about the potential of Texas A&M for a long time, but we haven't really felt like we saw that. Listen, Mike Elko is probably the most underrated coach in college football that we are not giving the proper respect to. Then when you look at Marcel Reed, we've always talked about his potential, right? He went out and he showed that last night. He threw for over 350 yards and led them to a victory, scoring a late touchdown on 4th and goal, the last play of the game. Not to mention Le'Veon Moss looked like an absolute superstar last night with 3 rushing touchdowns. So what I see with this Texas A&M team, outside of a favorable schedule, outside of a momentum-building win, I see a team with a militant-style head coach who knows how to develop his players and his team. And I see players that are buying into the process, knowing that if they follow, they will become better players, and overall they will become a better team. And I'm telling you right now, if this momentum continues and Texas A&M is an at-large or even a highly ranked team in the college football playoff, this is a team that you will not want to see at the end of the season.
Certainly a sleeper team, not getting too much hype headed into this year, but a team that got a lot of hype. Clemson was a top 4 team entering this college football season, down from 12 last week to completely out of the AP Top 25 poll. So who was wrong? Were we wrong to think that this was a potential national championship contender? Are they just not playing like it?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that as media members, it's our job to create these headlines and these stories and to hype up the Arch Mannings and to talk about the Cade Klubniks of the world and the Dabo Sweeneys. But at the same time, Clemson is very much so underperforming. And when I look at it, it's not a personnel issue because you've got a coach that's won multiple national championships in the same place. The continuity is there. Then we talk about quarterback Cade Klubnik, who is one of the most experienced quarterbacks in all of college football. And let's not forget to mention the fact that Clemson always has about 1 or 2, maybe 3 potential first round picks on the defensive line. I know they were missing some starters yesterday, but that's still not an excuse to play the way that you did and the way that we've seen so far this season. So I really don't think it's a personnel issue. It's just a lack of execution. And it starts with Cade Klubnik. We amplified his name and we sang his praises and said that he was going to be more than likely the best quarterback in college football due to his experience, but yet he's just underperformed just like the rest of this Clemson team.
Brad, what's your take?
I think the hype was warranted coming into the year.
Yeah.
Damien, they probably have 3 future first-round picks on defense. Avion Terrell at corner, T.J. Parker on the edge, Peter Woods in the middle. You got Will Help, outside linebacker. I mean, not only were they filled with studs offensively, but this defense was supposed to be the ACC's best, and now they've lost 2 games out of their first 3. Should have lost to Troy, let's be honest, was down 16 points in the first half at home in that game. So Dabo Sweeney's having to eat crow a little bit. Said last month that he thought this team could be the first one in the playoff era to go 16-0. Come on, Dabo.
Oh.
These guys aren't that good, and they aren't playing like it either.
Oh, that's rough to go out and say that and have what happened on Saturday. But the winner of that game, Georgia Tech, has entered the poll. So I think we'll look back on the Yellow Jackets and realize that this was a very good win for them and a very good team. Elsewhere, we've got Georgia moving up from number 6 to number 5 in the AP poll after an impressive win in Knoxville. Brad, what impressed you most, and maybe what did you learn about this Georgia team that we didn't know quite yet?
Yeah, maybe Mike Bobo was holding back a little bit in the first 2 weeks of the season, because the quarterback, Gunnar Stockton, his first ball was a deep completion that set up a touchdown. Then you saw Gunnar's touchdown pass on 4th and 6 to London Humphreys in the 4th quarter on a beautifully thrown ball to the corner of the end zone. 14-point comeback under Kirby Smart. Look at that right there. I mean, that's just an impressive mark. To do it in the SEC opener, Georgia was the second SEC team yesterday on 4th down to win the game. A&M doing it at Notre Dame as well. I just came away super impressed with Gunnar Stockton. Now there's some issues on defense for Georgia right now. I know there's 4 and 5 stars everywhere, but they gave up almost 500 yards to Joey Aguilar and a very good Tennessee offense. I came away impressed with both teams, Georgia as the SEC frontrunner and Tennessee being a team that's going to be a tough out later on in the year.
And Brad mentioned some problems with the Georgia defense. What are those problems, Damien?
Well, I think you have to start up front. And we sat up here on this show yesterday and we talked about what makes Georgia's defense so good is the fact that they can always get pressure and affect the quarterback with only sending 4 or 5 rushers. Joey Aguilar looked as comfortable as a baby in a car seat, if I'm quoting B-Mac McFadden correctly, but he looked comfortable and he never looked off key. I get it. He turned the ball over 2 times. One was at the end of the half. You know, it was a shot that maybe he shouldn't have taken. Another one was a bad play. But at the end of the day, I can say this confidently, Emily. This Tennessee offense, they looked good now. And I know we're talking about Georgia's defense, and yes, there are problems and challenges for them, but this was a great performance for Tennessee football if you're thinking about offensive exposure. I mean, Joey Aguilar looked great. Star Thompson, they finally got the run game going. Chris Brazzell, I mean, 6 catches, 177 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And going back to my original point is I think that all of that was made possible because Georgia could never get home without sending blitzers.
While we're on the subject of Tennessee, that was another team going into the season in general. We had no idea what to expect. College football playoff team last year, they lose their 5-star quarterback, Nico Iamaleava, in the offseason. Joey Aguilar, huge unknown when it comes to playing power conference football. Brad, what do we learn about the Vols as far as their chance to make it to another college football playoff?
I think we vastly underrated this team, Emily, and the capability of possibly getting to 10 wins. Now, I know that's going to be tough after losing the SEC opener, but the rest of the slate is somewhat favorable. And I like Tennessee on defense, too. We thought losing some guys in the NFL, some injuries in the secondary would hurt this team. They have not so far. Now, I know Gunnar Stockton carved them up a little bit yesterday, but Tennessee's a team that should be in the SEC race at season's end. The next 3 weeks are going to be automatic wins. I think the game at Bama could potentially determine, which one of those teams, the Vols or the Crimson Tide, get to that 10-win plateau. And in the last 4 games, I think they're all winnable. And I know Tennessee has not fared well historically in the swamp against Florida. The Gators might be under an interim coach at that point in November.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I've got the Tennessee-Alabama matchup circled on my calendar, and like I would any other year, because it's the 3rd Saturday in October, and me and Proud are going to have a nice little side bet that we're going to place under the table. But that matchup is going to feed families, because what we saw from Alabama yesterday, if that is the Alabama that we get for the rest of the season, if Tennessee continues to progress and build momentum after a very tough but competitive loss, this is going to be an offensive firework display, 2 quarterbacks who are coming into their own and playing a high level of football. You've got receivers on the outside that are game breaking, and 2 defenses that are still trying to figure their way out, but at the same time are still very effective at the same time. So I think Brad is very right. I think the winner of that game determines a little bit of SEC championship implications and maybe even college football playoff.
Could be maybe reminiscent of that game back in 2023 when Tennessee
Something
won
like that.
52-49. Potentially we could see some offensive fireworks in that one, but we always have that game circled. Thank you guys so much for that. Hey, make sure that you are listening to the College Football Insiders. That is where you get all the good behind-the-scenes information. Our insiders across the sport have the best info for you. There'll be breaking news on that show. They'll be bringing you all that inside information. So watch on YouTube, scan that QR code, or listen wherever you get your podcasts.